Energy. It's the basic need of all living things. Powers our homes, our cars, our heating, and other stuff that are vitally important. Us humans need this energy to live and grow on this floating ball of rock and stone that we call home. The craziest thing about this energy is that we can harness it to get it to do whatever we want it to do. Some of these methods include solar,
The sun is a deadly laser.
hydro,
Water.
and wind. This is what we call nuclear. This is what we call renewable energy. And it's pretty solid. Being used as a main power source isn't very great. It's got its upsides and it's got its downsides. But used as a secondary power source behind something like natural gases, which we'll get to later, or, the title of the video, it's very good. A lot of these downsides go away. But that's not what the world wants. They want to use it as a main power source to kind of help us spearhead into a new era of the future. But the problem with that is that the more we use it, the more the problems that I mentioned earlier are intensified. So overall, not the greatest source of energy. Next up on the chopping block is the shit you burn. This is things like coal, wood, fossil fuels, and natural gases. They're great. We've been using them for a long ass time, and I think we're going to keep using them. But there's a few problems that we've realized recently that are kind of hard to ignore. The first issue is that they're finite. There's no more supply drops, there's no more server resets, nothing. We just got to make do with what we have, and the problem is it's running out. The second issue is that the more we burn these materials, hotter the earth gets. This is what the Spanish say, very bad. So, to stop Bill Nye from going to an early grave, we can't use these as much anymore because it's bad. So, we've talked about two of the main sources of energy. But with each of them, they've had their drawbacks that have kind of made it not great overall. It's like deciding to play any collectible card game. Yes, it's very fun. Take it from me, resident expert here. But it's just a little frustrating and kind of expensive. So, those two don't work. What the are we going to do? We got to find a method of energy that's carbon neutral, reliable, easily controllable, and land efficient. That's insanity. It's not like there's been a source of energy that's, been around since the 50s, right? Right? Nuclear energy is a pretty damn good power source. But first, let's pass it off to our nuclear energy expert for a quick history lesson. On to you, Bob. I'm Bob. Tough luck. Nuclear energy, more specifically nuclear fission, was discovered in 1938 by these guys. And over the years, by 1954, they eventually figured out a way to put it into a reactor. Since then, nuclear fission has been being used to power things all around the world pretty effectively. 32 countries are currently drawing their power from nuclear fission as we speak. In the US specifically, we are using it to cover about 20% of our energy needs. By 2050, though, we are projected to at least triple it, which is great. It's amazing. Now, I was talking about nuclear fission. You may be asking, what is that? Well, it's the driving force of every nuclear power plant. Inside that nuclear reactor, which is the big power thing, is uranium. And what they do to the uranium is they bombard it with neutrons until it starts to split apart. The things that it splits into are starts at uranium, then it goes to another form of uranium, and then into I don't want to try, and then finally plutonium, where it'll sit. This reaction will release energy, which is then used to power things that we use every single day. What follows in the reactions, or the whole reactor itself, is this. So, right behind me is a nuclear reactor. This is where all the magic happens, okay? Right here is the nuclear core. This core is surrounded by water, so when the reaction happens and releases heat, the water is then heated up. Then that water is pumped straight into a second tank of water. That second tank is then heated up and turned into steam, right? That steam goes up and around and down straight through a turbine. That turbine gets pushed, right? Actually, let me go on this side. This turbine gets pushed around and it creates energy. Finally, that's excess steam that went through the turbine gets boom, routed down into a condenser, which takes the water from the river, throws it in, um, cools down the steam back into water, and that gets pushed right back into the steam thingy. The nice thing about this process is that it is monitored and controlled every single step and second of the way to make sure that it doesn't fail. It's awesome. It's amazing. Definitely fail proof. I love it. All right. That's all for me. Back to you, Ranch, I guess. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it. The best part about this process in specific is that it's incredibly efficient. Insanely efficient. Unthinkably efficient. That's the big draw of nuclear fission. It's leagues ahead of everything else.
Except fusion.
1 minute. Anyways, numbers wise, nuclear fission is insane. This might be random, but at the moment, if you took all of the energy producing things in America that America uses to power everything, it would be roughly the size of Iowa and Missouri combined. That's the size of London. Holy fuck. Anyways, when Biden was in office, he set a goal to be completely carbon free in 25 years. The problem with this is that with renewable energy, which was their goal, is that it's the complete opposite of nuclear. Although it is carbon free and great for the environment, solar and wind energy are probably the least land efficient things in history. An article written by this person, she did the math. And she said this: to achieve President Joe Biden's pledge to create a carbon free economy by 2050, the United States would need the equivalent of 4 additional South Dakotas. Holy shit, that's a lot of land. To put it into perspective, those states together equal the entirety of Angola. Do I know what Angola is? No, but it's pretty big. Also, for you um, America enjoyers, it's a little bit bigger than Texas, the second largest state. If this were to happen, and the U.S. were to continue to increase the renewable energy supply in the future, a lot of bad things would happen. The worst issue is that the value of land would increase, leading to an extra cost of living due to the fact that we want to go carbon neutral. If there's less land to live on, the available land that you can buy would increase significantly in price due to an ever decreasing supply and an ever increasing demand. It's pretty shitty. The nice thing about nuclear fission, though, is that it's hundreds of times more efficient than other forms of renewable energy. All the nuclear power plant needs is 3 pieces of duct tape, a college dorm room, and a shit ton of Adderall, and you're set. One nuclear power plant can generate up to 1,000 megawatt hours while only needing 1 square mile. A wind farm, in specific, would need over 300 times that amount of space to produce it, and a solar farm would need 75 times more. Finally, if you were to scale its efficiency up to power up the states, it would only consume land equal to the city of Los Angeles. And honestly, I think that's a pretty damn good trade off. Los Angeles kind of sucks. I think we should just take that whole area and start from the beginning. From like the hunter gatherer shit, you know what I mean? Be perfect. All right. Nuclear energy is controllable and land efficient. Now we need it to be carbon neutral and consistent. Thankfully, it's got both in spades. It's in the clean energy category, which means it releases zero greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane, which is amazing. But the only concern that nuclear energy has is that it can harm the environment because of accidents and poor management of waste. Counter argument: fuck you. Although accidents happen, they're due to human error and poor reactions to malfunctions in the system. Although some of the problems were due to poor design, it was expedited due to the people watching over it being incompetent. Am I saying I could do a better job? Not in a million years. But I'm still pointing it out. Done right and done smart, not much could go wrong unless a fucking cosmic ray flips a bit or something stupid. In conclusion, it's not much of an issue. So now you know that nuclear energy is carbon neutral too. Well, last thing, is it consistent? Yes. We've been using it to power our homes for the past 75 years without much of an issue. And 90% of that time, that many years, they were being operated at full capacity. My source? This guy. But yeah, it's our best bet to rely on nuclear energy because it's absolutely the shit. Nuclear fission is great. There's a bigger and better form of energy that is on the horizon. It's called.
Can I talk about it?
Yeah, you can. Go wild. Do you want the microphone?
I got my own microphone, thank you very much.
Cool.
Nuclear fusion. It's great. It's actually the most efficient form of energy that we currently know of. Instead of taking uranium atoms and splitting them, it rapidly accelerates hydrogen and tritium and forces them together. The resulting reaction releases 4 times the amount of energy for the same mass of fuel used. The process is also carbon free, releasing helium during its reactions instead of greenhouse gases. Although it's a little expensive, around 10 billion per reactor, it's an amazing way to give us energy. So why don't we use it already? It's because it's not ready. The biggest problem with fusion is that it's nowhere near ready to be used on a commercial scale. We've known about it since the early 1900s, and we still have at least 20 years to go until the first prototype of a full reactor is built. So for now, although fusion is amazing, we still have at least 2 decades until it's even able to be considered as a reliable means to do so.
All right, that's about it for nuclear energy. I don't really want to talk anymore. And honestly, if you want more information, the internet exists. All in all, though, nuclear energy is amazing for the fact that it is carbon neutral, incredibly efficient, and a very easy way to help us guarantee energy safety in the future. That's all from me. Bye bye. Probably won't see you again.